Well, this will be my real brief review of the Eco Disc Mulcher by AFE. I've run this for about 10 hours on a demo and quickly decided I do not like it. So I'll kind of just point out all the things that I do and don't like. To start out, it's about 100 pounds lighter than the Loftness. That part's nice. It is built like a phone booth. I mean, this thing, look at all the gusseting on it. It's got like these wood splitter type edges on both edges up front, which is really nice for pushing material around. Nothing's going to bend on it. The push bar is very stout and it's braced very well. It's braced into the motor housing, so that part's good. And it also has these interesting carbide tips on the bottom, which I guess we're not going to be able to see that. Sorry about that. It's also got these tips that you'd see on a trencher, so it does leave a very nice surface when you stump a tree. That's probably about where my positives end for it. So the hose routing, the way it comes out the side and goes up into your coupler on your skid steer, it's pretty susceptible for stuff to go through here and want to rip your hoses off. For whatever reason, they built this shield for your main two high flow hoses, and then the case drains just hanging out here by itself with no protection whatsoever. And this got the hell beat out of it just in the first 10 hours. It actually, a stick came in here, hit this, loosened it up, oil started shooting out. So I really can't for the life of me figure out why you would build this skid plate and not bring it down another, whatever, 4 or 5 inches. The push bar, this section here, totally worthless as far as I can tell. I haven't found a scenario where you need this to curve out. It should just come out straight, because when you cut a tree, cut it over here on the left side, so as the blade's spinning, it pulls the stump this way, and the top of the tree wants to fall this way. What happens though is it hits this, and then the tree falls over the top going that way. If this was just straight out, the tree could just fall over. Another major problem is how this corner on each side is raised up, and then it tapers down towards the motor housing. So what happens is you'll be pushing up against some trees, or you'll cut a tree and it'll fall and land in here. So the tree has to go up to get over this. So then you have to stop the blade and tilt the whole mulcher down to throw the tree off. So there should really be some type of shielding, like that goes from here up to here, to block that off so trees can't get caught in there. That's a huge problem. If I was going to keep this, one of the first things I'd do would be to shield that. However, I don't think this machine's going to work at all for my use, because these edges stick out further forward than the tip of the blade. So that creates two problems. Number one, it limits how much you can stump a tree. It leaves probably that much stump up above the ground when you cut a tree off. And if the blade was further out, you could tilt the disc down and go deeper down like you can with the Loftness. The other problem is if you wedge a tree in here and it gets jammed, normally you could tilt the disc down, put the actual disc into the ground, and just kind of rotate like this with the skid steer, which rotates the disc. But since the two corner points stick out, if you tilt this down, the disc never touches the ground, so you can't do that. So unclogging this is a real chore. And again, I can't really show you, but this thing, just the way it sits, it catches those stumps stick up about that much, and the back edge of this thing catches them. So if you set the mower down on the ground, just like it's sitting right now, and you try driving forward through a field of seedlings just to kind of mow them off, you can't do it because it catches each and every single stump. So again, on the Loftness, they have rails built to basically space the mulcher up off the ground just enough so that you can just set your mulcher down level and mow through the field without raising or lowering your mulcher over and over and over. This flapper door, I get it. They're trying to stop debris from shooting out and going 200 yards. And they're probably also trying to keep debris on the top for a little while longer so it mulches it finer. But this thing, basically when I try to suck a tree in on the top to mulch it, let's say I got a 18-foot tall 4-inch diameter cedar, and I suck it in, it only mulches through about half of it, and then it cuts the tree in half, and the other 9 foot of tree just falls over. And I think it's because the tree goes in, it hits this, and then it loses all of its momentum. So there's a couple bolts here on top. Looks like there's 5 bolts holding this on, and then it's welded on. So it's not something you can just take off. It's welded all the way around. I definitely don't like that at all. As far as mulching goes, sucking the tree in on the top doesn't work very well. It leaves a very coarse mulch. I mean like 3 or 4 foot chunks. Mulching with the bottom of the blade actually gives a lot finer mulch, which is weird because it's the opposite of how the Loftness works. But I don't like setting this down on top of a tree. I'd rather just suck them in. It's a lot quicker. I do like the edges, how there's no lip around here, so all this debris can easily fall off. And lastly, it might just be an issue with the skid steer I'm running, which is a Cat 299, but this thing will only cut through 1, maybe 2 trees that are about 5 to 6 inch diameter max, and then it has to spool up, and I cannot move the skid steer at all until it gets above about 2300 RPM. This thing just, for whatever reason, it really seems to suck all the hydraulic power out of the skid steer. I did also want to mention that it seems like whatever brand and profile of teeth these are, they do seem to be holding their sharp edge longer than the Loftness. So I'm going to find out what brand these are, see if I can't try these on the Loftness. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents on this machine. I probably wouldn't ever recommend one to anyone just because of the things I mentioned here. I don't think it's something that you could go out with a grinder and a welder and fix yourself. I think it would take basically a complete redesign, and that's not time that I want to spend. I'd rather just go out and buy something that's as close to perfect to start out with. So thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you in another video.